Ipswich Buses, your local bus company serving your football team. Buses run every 10 minutes. Avoid the traffic. Don't get stuck in the delay. Get Ipswich Buses today. A single £1.20, a return only £2. Find out more information at www.ipswichbuses.co.uk. Ipswich Buses, proud to partner with Talk in Town. Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome back to your Ipswich Buses Matchday Ticket full-time show. The fans react. You can, of course, go contact us now with Ipswich Buses around Ipswich. Should there be a taxi being called for Portman Road? I don't know. I'll let you tell me. Sadly, Town have lost again. That's becoming a sentence that's all too familiar. This time in the Papa John's Trophy, losing 2-1 to West Ham under 21s. And for fans of a certain age, you know, myself, Colin, etc., everybody else who's over the age of, I don't know, well, my age of 30, this is a new sort of sobering low, if you like. I'm used to, you know, League One Championship playoff semi-final defeats to West Ham's main team, not their kids. Anyway, Lee Brown, Dimmy, what a mess. Mike D, don't worry, we won't see poor performance when Morsey plays. Mike D, Hully needs firing, should be nowhere near the club. Robert Smith, oh dear, just looked. Mike D, should be 3-1. Holy spilt one over the line. Lloyd, this is ridiculous. How long do we go on like this? Tom Pips, classic Cook performance. Close to saying, let's sack him and try again. Monty, no enjoyment in predicting the correct score. And Bradley Hembrew, absolute shambles, unacceptable. Cook was utter useless and clueless. And Callie says, and I feel sorry for Callie because he went tonight, all the way from Brum. First time I left a game early. Steve, welcome back. You've been with us from the start, apart from a half time. Another defeat. Got some wonderful people coming onto the show at some point to give their say. But what's your thoughts and feelings?
Well, first off, sorry I missed the half-time show.
Not a problem.
I had to go and play taxi to the missus, but yeah, I was pathetic, wasn't it? I mean, I don't mind losing to West Ham, but I mean, I don't want to. But
their main
kids,
team, yeah, but
they're under 21s. That was pathetic. I don't even know. I don't even know where to start. There was just nothing there. I saw the feed come through. We're taking a nice early lead again, and then crumbled. As soon as they equalised, it's the same old fucking story now. Every time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. JT, we're probably getting worse rather than better. Terry, if your players need to gel, shouldn't they actually play together? Well, that's not an excuse you can use anymore, is it, Steve? Like, I don't want to hear the words, we need to gel anymore.
How long has it been now? We're 6 games into the league. We've had that cup game against Morecambe or Newport. I can't remember, one of the two. Newport. And obviously tonight as well. This whole we need to gel thing, it's just bullshit now. You know, we've had the pre-season. We're well into the season now. They should have gelled. They should have gelled by now. That's not an excuse you can carry on using now.
Absolutely, it's not. I'll bring in the Fisherman first of all. Fisherman, you've been on the Cook out bandwagon for a while. What did you see tonight? What did you make of tonight? And then where do we go from here as a football club?
For me, there was only one player. There's only one, maybe two players that came out with any credit. I thought Norwood battled well, took his goal well. Morsey looked okay, but if Cook's pinning all his hopes on that one player, fucking hell, he's got some serious issues. Look, Cook's got to go. It's not working. The owners watch this show, right? The owners ain't stupid. They've got to start. They've got to actually think, this is not working. Still 4 wins in 25 now, isn't it? 26 or whatever it is. Oh, tonight was embarrassing. I mean, that really was embarrassing. You know, oh, God, I'm just so angry. I mean, God alive, you know, What are we supposed to do, boys, eh? What are we supposed to do with this situation?
The club's in free fall. Seems to be in free fall right now.
Were you surprised he didn't take the opportunity, as I was before the game, that he didn't take the opportunity to play more first-team players with this gel that needs to happen?
That's the problem, isn't it? Cook is clueless. I mean, we spoke about this last night, about the fact that we've got these coaches that are so inexperienced coaches. What are they doing? What the hell were we doing the last 2 weeks during that international break? I want to look, Cook, invite me down to that training ground. Right? Seriously, you laugh, but get me down there. Because I'll tell you something now, I'd love to see what's going on behind closed doors. Because if that's the kind of coaching, we're going to end up in League Two next year. What the players, I don't know, what, I mean, no disrespect, right? He's called out Morsey. What does that say to Evans and to Harper? Okay, they haven't had the greatest start. But let's be honest, they're two similar players. I said this. But what's that say to them? Oh, Christ alive. I'm so glad I came with Ipswich. Now my managers, now my boss is turn around and say he's pinning all his hopes on Morsey coming in and helping this squad out. You're on the right, Martin. We should have been playing a lot more first team players tonight. If this so I hate the word gel because no other team that have brought in 16 plus players are struggling except us. No.
And not every team has the embarrassment of riches we do within our squad. That when you bring in your third or fourth striker, one cost money from Accurate and Stanley and Caden Jackson, and one it was a big ticket signing a couple of years ago for Paul Lambert. That's James Norwood. When most people bring their third or fourth striker in, if they've got one, it's an 18-year-old such as Louis Barry. Which Leanison asked, why is he here? We've got Ryan Senior. My team will fight to the end. They can't play like a bunch of pussycats. Adam Flatt, welcoming Jacob Flatty. No more Pauls. Michael Finch, Tottenham, my one on the season ticket. Leighton, Holy let an easy cat to go over the line after dropping it. He went straight to the West Ham player trying to get near a cross that gave them their penalty. And Facebook uses a great job for someone. They are great shouts. Yeah, I mean, you got an embarrassment of depth. And I had a conversation with somebody on Twitter, Mike, about how you shouldn't play your strongest team tonight because they might get injured. Look at Caden Jackson. And I was sort of responded saying, well, they're football players. They're paid to play football. And if you're going to be worried about injury, then they can't go shopping. They can't play with their kids. They can't do anything because they might get injured. That's not a reason in my book. I don't know how you see it. You're a great coach yourself. Was injury or the fear of injury a reason not to play?
Look, I mean, if we're going to start, if we'd have been flying in the league, right, I could probably understand, some of the players that played tonight, right? But the fact of the matter is we're not flying in the league. And, there was a good opportunity for, to sort out a midfield tonight and play some, like you say, rightly so, some more first teamers. West Ham, West Ham under 21s, they made us look so... I don't know whether we made them look good or they were good, but there was structures. What structure? There is no structure. Our defending is shambolic. I mean, what the hell were they doing? Just don't understand it. I can't get my head round. Look, seriously, O'Neill and Ashton, you guys need to be speaking to the owners and saying, look, this is not working. And I'm fed up of hearing. Look. God rest Paul Cook's father and all that. And I know that's, we hate talking about sacking a person when right now they're a real low in their own life personally. I hate that kind of thing. But we've got to look at it from a realistic point of view. As much as I wanted Cook to work, it's not working. It really isn't working. And we can see it, again tonight, the final whistle, fans booing. I'd never like to see booing, but I think I'd have booed tonight. It was such an inept performance and so lackluster. My teams will fight to the end. Oh, we'll bring Morsey in. He'll sort out the problem. We're bringing a new goalkeeper. He'll sort out the problem. We'll bring in more players. That'll sort out the problem. Excuses are wearing really thin, and I just feel for us right now because every fan is wanting us to do well. I think you know, well, like I said, we could win the next game, and I'd still want Cook to go. He's got to win 5-6 on the bounce for me to change my mind now.
Okay, all right. I'm going to bring in Matt Stannard. He's in the car. He's been at the game tonight. Matt, you brave man. Tell us what you think following tonight's defeat.
Pretty poor, really. Second half was so boring, wasn't it? And there's just no passion or desire to score or go forwards. You win a free kick, just mosey around. And I really want to take it. But my boys, what did you think? What did you think of the game, Huey? Was it good?
Game level.
So yeah, they were pretty uninspired as well. It's a shame because we've got really good talent on the pitch. It's hard to know what's wrong. Is it? I mean, Mike, you're a tactical genius. Tactics. What's wrong?
I would say tactical genius, but you know, I think tactics are wrong. I don't know. Paul's like Martin has pointed out on previous shows. You know, Paul's very stubborn when it comes to his formations and the way he plays. You know, the style he plays, and I just don't think it's suited for Ipswich. I don't think it's suited. You know, mate, I don't know. I always come back to a number 2, and I think that plays a huge part. I know there is a sort of a sort of consensus. Maybe that's not the case, but I think that that's not helped him. It's just not working. It really isn't, and you can see it. This has got Hurst written all over it. It really has.
I said Hurst a couple of weeks.
We do have a theory.
You're sorry.
Go on, Matt.
We do have a theory. My wife thinks it's that seagull thing that's up. She thinks it's cursed. So I don't know if anyone else has seen the seagull thing that's sort of like the away fans, but has it all gone downhill since that was put up? Who knows? Well,
that's a new thing. So sadly, we can't blame that because we've been shit for a number of years. Excuse my language with the kids in the car. Do you know what, Matt? It's not been good. But what I'm really impressed with here is your connection because it's much better than iFollow. And you're probably on an iPhone or an Android, and maybe you need to just sort of email some hints and tips over to the iFollow service because I've had you longer than I had the first half.
Yeah, I would try and stream it, but that's frowned upon, isn't it? They get a little bit funny if you start to try and stream the game.
Well, if they're going to switch their stream off halfway through the first half, then it's just more's the bit, that's where it's going to be.
I had a few buffering issues in that first half, and that was awful.
Yeah, I had a few issues with the team overall.
Well, yeah.
What about the goal? Was the goal over the line, and was the penalty the other end for us? Penalty or not penalty?
It was over the line by a country mile, and then it wasn't a penalty, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm with you, Martin.
But luckily for Holy, he's like 9 foot tall, and his body got in the way of the referee's view to the goal line, so they couldn't give it. And being, the Papa John's Legoland trophy, they haven't got VAR down here. But Matt, we appreciate you coming on. Just losing some stability with the connection, so safe travels. I'll bring in Neil back onto the show. Neil, welcome back. We've got Pete the Tractor. Pete the Tractor, what did you make of tonight's game? Pete, you're on mute, son. Come back when you've got your camera, your mic off mute.
That's what he thought of the game, Martin.
Speechless. Neil Perks, welcome in.
No words.
Neil, what did you make of today's game? I mean, where do we go from here? A lot of fans saying, Cook's got to leave. If he goes, who do you want? Do you want him to go? And if you do, who do you want? What are you feeling, Neil?
It's very depressing, isn't it? That's for sure. I don't want to see us get rid of him, but how many more games can you give him? I mean, this can't carry on, can it? Really, like this week in, week out, just can't.
Well, no. A question on Monday's show yesterday. Oh Christ, Monday's on yesterday. By somebody was how give it time. Patience is what we need. Patience. So, how much time do you give it, Mr. Neil Perks? How long are you willing to give this before it feels like you're just prolonging the inevitable breakup that needs to happen?
I think if it carries on like this, Martin, I don't think, to be honest with you, and it's hard because he's brought all these new players in and things, but I don't think you're looking at more than 10 to 12 games, to be honest. So,
right, we're now sort of hitting that choppy bit of water where he's got to wins from Saturday onwards to really turn it around. Neil, you're somebody the other Neil this is now. Mr. Positivity. Of course, not going to dominate anyone with shit. What are you seeing tonight and from the course of the first part of the season that you didn't see or was giving you some hope, if anything? Because obviously Paul Lambert was the previous manager and he didn't have the riches that perhaps Paul Cook did, but he did lose to Arsenal youth last year, and Matt Phillips particularly was very upset with that. Has anything changed, or are we exactly the same, just maybe a little bit further into a bigger budget?
I wouldn't say no, you mentioned all of that too much has changed. It was just, Armin is a youngster, so he tailed off a little bit, in which is expected. What's his name in midfield? Carroll. He just absolutely went missing. He was terrible second half for me. A positive was the fact that Norwood kept trying and driving forward and giving it his all. Chaplin was half decent, but nothing really worked out. And it was, what can you say? A bit of a mistake. And Holy certainly doesn't want the number 1 shirt, does he?
Progress is a big word, Mike. And Lee Brown asks, as I've often asked, where's the progress? Where's the progress? Where's the progress? So, Mike, where's for you? Same sort of thing as Neil. Where's the progress for you? Are we making that such craved progress?
There is no. There is no progress. This is the thing I can't get my head around. As I said last night, we've got pros who own the club. We've got pros bringing in like in Mark Ashton. We've got Mike O'Neill, who's really seems very level-headed and very sort of professional. And then we've got Paul Cook with what I consider amateur type coaching. For this level, for the type of team that we have, we've gone out and bought quality players. We've gone out and got quality in Mark Ashton, Mike O'Neill, and then we've got obviously the owners, and now we've got Cook, who right now is out on his own, isn't he? Standing there on his own, head down, looking at the ground. I mean, how many times in that second half would the camera panned on Cook and you could just see him looking at the ground going, my top's up. It's just, he looks a broken man, and I feel absolutely bad for him under the circumstances right now, to a point. I do, and we all sat here and we all sort of questioning the tactics, questioning everything, but we have to sort of be careful a little bit because the bloke's lost his dad, and it's horrible.
Neil Perks, Chris Boyd. Last year's awful squad was close to a playoff stand when Lambert went. How can we have upgraded every position and have all gone to utter pieces? How would you answer that?
I wonder if we've probably made too many signings, Martin, to be honest. I would have probably kept hold of a couple of players, probably from last season, 2 or 3. I think we probably just made way too many signings in the end. I don't know if that's really had the positive effect maybe we were looking for, really. Bring players in, but we probably brought in way too many, I think.
Yeah, 19 is a big number for sure. But then are the players equally making their own cases for selection? Like Neil mentioned Tom Carroll. Did he do enough tonight to you come into the game and Rakeem Harper and Lee Evans are from the outside certainly looking in on thin ice, not playing well, not started the season well. Did Tom Carroll at the very least put public pressure on Paul Cook by playing well tonight and saying it? So the fans on this show tonight, Thursday and Friday will be saying, Tom Carroll, great game Tuesday, should be starting. Don't see why. Did he have a good game for you?
Didn't seem to second half, and to be honest, a player like that, you think, especially in a game like tonight, you'd expect him to probably be bossing the game a bit more, wouldn't you?
I would have liked so.
Surely you would. And then the thing comes Saturday, what's he going to do? He's probably going to start Harper and Evans again, isn't he, on Saturday? That's the concern again, really. Because obviously you can't have Morsey because he's out for the next 2 games, and next 2 games are big games, I think, aren't they? And they're not easy games at all.
No. Lincoln is no easy pushover. Thomas, play Burns right wing back maybe. KVY is not the same player. Yeah, KVY, Neil. Before I let you go, what did you make of him tonight?
Early on in the second half,
Sorry.
I was only watching it on the Sky Sports News, Martin. I didn't actually see the game at all.
Lucky man.
But I mean, he doesn't seem the player he was, does he? I mean, I used to rave on about him last year and thought we probably had the best right back in the league, but something's gone wrong there, hasn't it? The injuries or other things as well. It's obviously got to be injuries more than anything, but he's not the player that he was, is he?
No. He sadly isn't. Neil, as always, look after yourself. Keep practicing hard. Stay healthy. I'll bring in Coxie. I've got Mark Dowling here. I'll set you up with this question nice and early. Am I wrong to even suggest he's really in last chance saloon? Technically naive to beat teenagers, or am I being harsh? We've definitely seen the last of Holy, though. Do you think he's technically naive, and do you think we've seen the last of Holy? Who, by the way, is what Neil's mug says he is there.
Yeah, I wouldn't say, good evening, everybody, by the way. I wouldn't say we were actually tactically naive. I say tactically inept. I don't think he has and one iota, it's a clue about anything to do with tactics. He's not willing to adapt play. He's too stubborn. I know we have seen this with previous managers we had before. He is absolutely, but as you said, in the previous show when he had the Wigan guy and the Portsmouth guy, that's exactly what they said. He's not going to. He did actually make more changes tonight than he did Saturday. I'm hoping if there is anybody out there who's calling for Holy, please let that performance tonight absolutely nailed down that he should never play for us again. I mean, that was a goal. He definitely spilled it over the line, and then he went to give a penalty away, and he wasn't happy with that. He had to give a penalty. It's another world, and I'm not too sure whether this is reminiscent of the Hurst time or whether it's reminiscent of the time when we had Roy Keane, and it took us until October to get a win. But our previous manager Lambert, he didn't know his best 11, and so far Cook doesn't seem to know his best 11. Perhaps it is too much to say. Like I said to you in a WhatsApp, that there's so many more questions than answers to the football club we love at the minute.
Were you surprised he decided to change it as radically as he did?
No, not at all. Not at all. No.
Why?
I mean, the common sense says to me, after Saturday's manner of defeat, to keep a few of them in. But no, that was no great surprise to me. That.
Were you surprised that he maybe didn't lead the back three, as in Walton, Burgess, and Edmondson, in to develop a bit more of a rapport and understanding, that partnership?
Well, that makes sense. That makes common sense. But no, he didn't do this. To me, he does look lost there by himself. But is it stubbornness again that he won't bring in the number 2, or whether he can't get a number 2? I don't know.
Do you think that? And Matt Stannard, I'll ask you this one. I know he's asked you, Coxie, but I'll ask you, Mike, before I let you go. Do you think the players are playing for him, Mike?
Well, we've played. I mean, this season, including our friendlies, we've played 10 games and we've lost 7 and drawn 3.
Mm-hmm.
Right. With respect, I know that we played a Premiership side at Crystal Palace and a Championship at Millwall, but I mean, out of all them games, did we really look like that we were going to roller coast any of them teams at any point? The reality is no. Are the players playing for Cook? I don't know. I don't know whether the players are actually playing at all, mate. Some of them. Sometimes I look and think, what are you doing? You're professional footballers. Regardless of who the manager is, you should at least give 100% on the pitch. I mean, we for me, if Cook's putting all his eggs in Morsey, then we're in trouble. And look, I'm not saying Morsey's a bad player, because clearly he's not. But I think I think right now, it's not working. I think Cook took us from 6th place last season and finished. Where did we finish? 10th. Sorry,
I think it was 9th. I think.
Yeah, 9th. So that to me, there was no new manager bounce there, none whatsoever. And then this season, we haven't won a game at all, including the friendlies. And it's just gone on too long. 1 win in 4 wins in 25 now, or 26 if you including all the friendlies. That's probably 1 win in 30.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not good, is it? That's not
No.
good, Matt. You know, it's not. That's Hurst and Roy Keane stuff. And I think all of us, we all have different opinions on here. We all have different thoughts on how we should formations and stuff like that. But 5 fans here from all different backgrounds, all saying the same thing. It's not working.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Mike, as always, it's a real insight, real pleasure. Speak to you soon. Look after yourself. We've got Tom Pitts. Mike, this is an A1989. Players don't play for the badge anymore. They play for the check. Parry, with players who really don't care, they knew they were going. Ryan, he's saying us from 6th to 22nd. Reese Curtis, is it with squad morale? Too many signings, hard to keep everyone happy. Ashley Lewis, confidence key in football. Too many underperforming and almost trying too hard. Chapman looks like he wants to take on every defender. Neil, I spoke on Sunday's show about Watford and Leeds. Ruthless in the modern game with how they change their managers, particularly Watford. Would it be a real sign of Ipswich Town entering the modern game if the Americans were just as ruthless after what has been a real poor start and removed him as manager? Or is it not the Ipswich way and we should stick with those sort of principles? And if so, how long has he got and what do you want to see from him from Saturday moving on?
The Ipswich way is working for us so far, isn't it?
Well, this is it. You know, delaying until it's just inevitably gone wrong. I mean, for many, what more do you want to see? 4 wins in 20 plus. You've had 20 plus. You've had a good body of work there. Like a lot of clubs, those clubs I've mentioned particularly, perhaps would be looking to knee jerk if it is a knee jerk. Where are you on it? You're quite a level-headed guy.
How many of them clubs would have allowed him to lose and draw this many games? To who them clubs would consider lesser opposition?
Well, this is it. I mean, you know, Norwich play Watford in the Premier League next week, and Watford. Not every club works like Watford, but it's worked for them. And then, you know, where are you on it? What do you want to see for or are you already like Matt? Like Mike. Time up. You're wringing your hands of Paul Cook, and it's kind of just a formality.
I've been waiting for him to give me a reason to go, you're a great manager, and he just is not doing it. Whether it's him or his players not playing, it just isn't working, is it? And there has to be an end at some point.
Yeah, I agree. I just wanted something because I do like Cook, and I really wanted it to work. You know, like Mike said, but it's just not working for whatever reason. And although the Ipswich way of retaining managers for as long as possible may have worked in the past, you know, things have changed, the game's changed. It's not going to do it. And I think the Americans are going to be quicker to pull the trigger, but sort of the sooner the better right now. We can't wait until it is too late to actually save the season and push for promotion or whatever it may be. I think it's got to be done ASAP because, like I say, as much as I like Paul Cook and as much as I wanted it to work, the lack of new manager bounce was concerning. Because
it wasn't a bounce, was it?
There was no bounce at all. And I thought at least we might have a new manager bounce and we could maybe start to kick on. And there was just absolutely nothing from the players. And all this crap about gelling, we shouldn't need that now. You know, all these, we've got on paper the best squad in League One. So why are we playing like the worst team in League One?
Is it about saving the season, Coxie, or is it more about the fact you've seen enough to know this manager's not flexible, he's not adaptable, doesn't change when the bullets start firing? And actually, that's not the sort of person we want to be leading us. Whether it's today trying to get out of this division, or whether it's next year trying to stay in a division, or whatever. Have you seen enough, or are you still got a lot more sort of rope, I guess, in which to hand him?
Let's be honest here. We are used to stubborn manager. We had Mick McCarthy, then a few years towards the end, how stubborn he was, and that in the end turned toxic. I personally, from the start, never wanted Paul Cook in charge, and that isn't me saying I told you so. Because personally, I wouldn't care. I didn't care if Mickey Mouse is in charge of a club, as long as we see results on the pitch.
100%.
And it's a result. Good comments by Steve and Neil there. The game has changed. I mean, everybody makes comparisons. Oh yeah, Bobby Robson lost so and so many games when he fessed up, but that was over 50 years ago. The game has changed so much, and us all we want is something to shout about of the club we love, and we're not at the moment. We're looking, we're in mid-September, and it's looking like we're going to be in for. We're showing relegation form in league at the minute, and tonight we just needed just that win, even if it was a nasty 1-0 win. But it didn't look like coming, and it's just. I haven't got the answers I wish I did have. Everybody's got their point of view, but
I keep coming back to I personally, and I know I don't often answer my own questions as some of the chat tell me. I wonder if I've just seen enough to know his players, not his players, 4-2-3-1 or hell or high water. If it's just kind of like when the good's good, when we're a strong team against the weak team, which will happen eventually, no doubt about it, we'll be okay. But when somebody comes and gives us a bit of a sucker punch, a bit like Bolton did on Saturday, to be fair, a couple of times, we didn't change, and we never change. And in this modern days football, look at Too Short Chelsea. It's all about cat and mouse. It's all about who can tactically outwit the other person. And yeah, I get the argument about Mick McCarthy being doubling down on decisions towards the end, but tactically, I don't think he was ever one person. He would often change it to a 3 in midfield or a 2 up top or a 1. Like tactically, Mick was very, compared to Paul Cook, certainly very, very fluid, very adaptable, very, very interchangeable. In fact, his main argument for a couple of years was he was too often changing because he wanted to match up the opposition, because it was, we're playing Bristol City in 14th false league position, so they're going to be better than what we are, so we're going to change how we approach.
Everyone was in a false league position.
Yeah, but
it was like playing Real Madrid every week.
It was, now we've gone completely the other way, where it's like we're Real Madrid, and we're not, obviously, but we're going to play this way. You stop us. The problem is when they do stop us, we don't kind of have anything to come back on.
And it does seem too easy for teams to stop us at the minute.
Yeah, easy. Danny Allen, if Cook stays, needs someone who can sort out the way we defend as a team. Not as a centre backs, try 3-5-2, 5-3, whatever it takes, because this isn't working. Rory Clark, the West Ham youngsters were playing for the badge. Gavin Law, get Lampard in. Lots of people asking what you would do in terms of managers coming in. Dr. Zach King, Gov spot on. It's the tactical know-how seems to be out the window. Great squad, should have 7 plans. Oh yeah, I mean, and that's one of the things we were sort of spoken about with Nick Coxey in the summer, where Paul Cook at the Q&A kind of alluded to the fact we're bringing in a couple of strikers or whatever player it was at the time, because at home we'll have a different way of playing to away from home, because teams will come to Portman Road with a different game plan, and that just sounded very. Okay, cool. So we'll set up differently. We'll look differently.
Yeah.
Well, when does that start?
It should have started. Was it 6 games ago? But no, we haven't seen that. We've seen the dead opposite. It was in, teams come to Portman Road. So on paper, lesser teams have got draw against us. Morecambe on the first game of the season. Probably should have won, really, but thanks to Macaulay Bonne, we got the equaliser, and then Saturday, everything was. They just Bolton, a team that just managed to keep together. Yeah, fair enough. They just got promoted, so that helps the team, demographics. But we have got nothing at the minute. But
sadly not. Steve, I'll put this question to Ashley's put in the chat, or a statement to you, but just before I do, I would like Ashley just to come back with what he feels the missing ingredient that Rich himself could bring to the party in his statement, because he says Pep has one tactic and doesn't change. Hasn't worked out too bad for him. Cook won the league, one of 2 different teams playing 4-2-3-1. That's not the issue. The missing ingredient is Richardson 100%. So Ash, what's if it's not 4-2-3-1, what would you want Richardson to change? And Steve, what do you say back to Ashley with that statement?
To be fair, I do agree with him. A few people have said, in the chat earlier, it's very similar with Paul Lambert post Culverhouse. It was just sort of that missing thing that he could never quite get back, and it seems to be the same. Cook without Richardson. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know what the answer is with Cook. It just seems to be like everything he tries, the opposition, they've outmaneuvered him, they've outthought him. And then it's just, from what we've seen in the league, just late substitutions and weird ones. Like bringing on Jackson, for example.
On Saturday.
I don't understand. It's
Nobody
strange. Last minute, and
he must like him. He must like him. He must honestly.
This is a player he banished the under-23s, and then he's gone back on him. He's like, "Yeah, we'll have you. Actually, we'll start you in the cup games." I don't understand it.
Yeah, I see. I'm different with that one, Coxie. I think if he's come back in, then he must do for a reason, and probably because he's worked hard on the training ground. Do you not feel a little bit actually? If Jackson's back in the fold, it's because of things he's done Monday to Friday.
Yeah, you would think so. That I think it was at the show earlier. You said he's obviously shown a great deal of professionalism. He's been dumped in the under-23, so he's obviously done the professional thing, got his head down, probably been working in training, and Cook's now sort of on his back burner, but obviously not in his first team. But and just going back to Richardson, did you or did you not say last night, Gov, that Richardson was only Cook's number 2 at Wigan? He wasn't.
Yeah, I did, but sadly I was let down by Wikipedia on that one. I've learned before. I should never trust Wikipedia in a pinch. That it's just like trusting a tin can and a bit of rope when you need a 999 call. Sadly, it just doesn't work. But no, so that's we'll leave that one there, Cox. You cheerful, bring back up again though. Thanks for calling in. I'll speak to you again soon. Going to bring Stephen on in a second because he's always a voice of reason. When the bullets are flying around. Monty Lampard, no, not for me. We need someone who commands respect and can manage.
What do you think Richardson would bring to the party then? Is he just an in-between man?
Well, Ashley says Richardson clearly had a huge influence. Could have been his work with the players, motivational skills or whatever, but that's clearly what Cook is missing. Why was he so desperate to get him in? Okay. Yeah, I'll go with that. I mean, motivationally wise, maybe Richardson was that, player whisperer that got them running through walls. Where maybe that's a good point, Ash. That's a new angle on the Richardson take that I've not heard before. Facebook user Agent Cook has been exposed. Fuck me, you guys payroll for agents must be done double figures by now because you lot have been paying them for years. Matt Stannard, I thought Jackson played okay. Did have a Douglas first half, continuing asking for the ball, but some of those moves in midfield can only look left. Stephen, I'll bring you in, then I'll bring Colin in a second. I'll ask you first. We're at 360 viewers. Tell me how many people should like this show if they're getting value from Talking Town Fans React.
Everybody should be getting value, so it should be well over 300. How about 320?
Love it. 320. So
it's quality.
Love it. If you're watching it,
of course I am. It's the best. I always watch it. It's the best entertainment going.
Good man. Well, if you like Stephen and you are watching us and you are getting value from us,
they always do like it when I'm on.
Then please do hit the like button. Stephen, voice of reason, give it to us tonight.
Look, at the end of the day, I'm not one of those who's going to start ranting and raving. I'm going to turn around and say, look, at the end of the day, sometimes we underestimate these under-21 sides. We all say, well, the kids, they're going in there with no fear. They don't care. They're not playing for nothing. They're playing to maybe get into a League Cup match for West Ham. They've got no fear. Yeah, we've got all the fear because we're worried about getting beat. Yeah, the top and bottom of it. Hawley was a shock for me. That was the only thing that really shocked me. I thought Morsey did well. He did a lot more tackling and fouling in midfield, which is something we've not seen in the league. But we Cook, I'm thinking like, well, yeah, it's very easy. I think at the moment, the fan base is divided. Some people are counting last year. Some people are not counting last year. And I think it depends on whether you count last year or don't count last year. It depends whether he's in or out. Yeah. I'm not counting last year because they weren't his players. And quite clearly, we did have a bounce, but Matt Gill was in charge when we had a bounce. Yeah. And then as soon as Cook came in, the players knew they were going. Everybody knows the players were going. And Cook even said, I don't like half of these players. They're not going to perform for him when he's already called them out. So you can't class last year. That's in my opinion. Everyone's welcome to their own opinion. But like I said, we were still developing a side up until 2 weeks ago. We had a debut tonight. We've still got a debut to come from Bersant Salino when he's ready.
Yeah.
You can't turn around and say he's actually had a full squad because after Morecambe, he lost 2 or 3 players. And he lost them for about 3 or 4 games. I'm not saying he's not on thin ice. He is on thin ice. And I think discussions have probably already been had. Talking about whether he's going to get sacked is way too premature. At the earliest, it would be the international window in October. But I would say he's probably got until November to turn this around. If he doesn't start turning this ship around by November, then people are probably going to start talking. And that'll allow any new manager to come in, have a few games, and then there's the January transfer window. But any talk of it now is just nonsensical. In regards Richardson, can we just stop? He's not coming. He has no intention of coming. Yeah. Does Paul Cook need an assistant? I don't know. I think these discussions have been had. I think Paul Cook, like I said, I think Paul Cook's been asked, do you want an assistant? He says no. We have to accept that. If that costs Paul Cook his job, that's Paul Cook's choice. It's not our choice. It's his choice. Yeah. We can all say it's a bad choice. It's not going to change his bloody mind, So let's just get on with it. I'm not prepared to knacker my mental health over football anymore. I've had enough of this over the last 10 years. I'm going to go very easily, very chilled, and I'm going to turn around and say, look, when his time's up, I know there's people higher up than me who's going to make that call. They're going to turn around and say, look, time is up. I will support him until his time is up. And I will support the team until his time is up. And then I'll support the next guy because I don't want to damage my mental health over this.
No, that's absolutely fair enough. I'll only ask you one question before I let you go and bring Colin in. Progress is a word that's often floated, and it's a word that's often used by people around the football club, in football, fans. I'm willing to go, yeah, I agree with you about his players, not his players. But are you seeing progress from managing somebody else's players to managing his own players, or is there no progress?
Up until Saturday, I'd have said yes, because we performed better. We didn't get the results, but we performed better. Yeah. Saturday, I think after that third goal went in, we lost the plot completely. Yeah. I think give him a bit of time with his players. Like I said, October, November, give him a bit of time with his players. Yeah. Get them all fit, get them all going. I think we can see improvement. If we don't see improvement, then he's going to have to go. Okay.
Stephen, as always, your voice of reason. Look after yourself, my man. Stay well. Matt Stanner, why would you call the players out when they could still have got in the playoffs? Isn't that shooting yourself in the foot? Yeah, well, some would say. Ben Moore, I'm not here for any favourites. I'm here for Talking Town. Go is the gov. Missing some hard truth by Crunchy. Yeah, well, Cookie fan Crunchy, you see. Maybe he's licking his wounds somewhere. I don't know. John Ipswich, agree. Only just completed
maybe it's crumbling.
Crunches crumble. There's a segment in there. Still got Dave Utes on a Cook fan. Like to see some change things earlier and double subs to change things, and no subs after 84 minutes does worry me. Josh Russell, we're 20 seconds, Stephen. The football's worse than Lambert, for fuck's sake. Cook has no plan B. He has to go. Plain and simple. Facebook user, we aren't saying we haven't got the players, but someone at the club needs to get them organised ASAP. And at the moment, we don't see progress in results. I'm at the bottom of the league, one of the lowest we've been for years. Neil, last year, I was very reluctant to want Paul Lambert sacked because I felt the players weren't good. Many people would say this is a good squad. The manager is holding the squad back. And I would say, I think the squad's rubbish. And actually, he's probably getting the most he can out of it. What transpired. Flip it now. Where are you? Are you of the thinking that this squad is good and the manager is holding it back? Or are you a bit like I was? Actually, do you know what? I think the squad isn't as good as people have egged it up to be, and the manager is probably getting what's out of it.
Can you really believe that this bunch we've got in are not good enough?
Well, I've got to ask the questions because I've got to try to provide some balance for the guys and the girls at home who are watching, and there will be some that maybe are on the side of Cook, etc. Is it a players thing where they're not performing their way and they're not as good as we've egged them up to be, or is it purely this time? And actually, I'd probably do go this side myself. The manager is kind of holding this squad back a little bit.
Well, if you consider that someone's handpicked this group that turn out not to be good enough, it's been a giant waste of time and money, really, hasn't it?
John Ipswich. The squad was built on Mark Ashton's stats, potentially, and I do see a head coach maybe being the route we go after this. Who knows? Lewis Robertson tonight was a wasted opportunity by PC to work on partnerships. Had a Saturday, don't get it all. Emerson just home after performance where I'm not sure their keeper had a save to make, or our keeper had our keeper had a shocker. Which, considering who the goalie was, isn't really one of a shocker. Colin, is it the manager holding this group of players back?
First of all, I'd like to say it's been a good show tonight. I listened to it all. I've got to go back to Mike, first of all. I thought Mike spoke really well tonight. And most importantly, we mustn't forget the fact that Mr. Kirk Paul has just lost his father. So we have to be careful. I totally agree with Mike on that tonight. So we see it, we border on being a bit careful, because the bloke is a bit fragile at the moment, or say a bit.
Absolutely. But we're here discussing the result and the performance.
Yeah. But going on to what you've asked me, Gav, I'm not so sure whether he's holding the players back. I'm not so sure, but I just think, like everybody else has said, saying that a broken record, is he tactically naive? Probably, possibly. It's difficult at the moment because his mind, I'm trying to get into his head. I think his mind must be somewhere else. It's got to be somewhere else. I'm not sure, Gav. I'm not sure really and truly whether that was a good thing he was there Saturday, and I don't even think it was a good, more importantly, I don't think it was a good thing he was there tonight. I think he needs to be, I'm not telling Paul Cook what to do, for goodness sake. He's old enough to look after himself, but shouldn't he maybe be away from it for a few days and with his family and what have you? I don't understand what's going on there, really. I think he should be concentrating more on his family at this moment in time. But but going on to the game tonight with the selection, obviously he's picking the side. With the selection tonight, I mean, when I first heard that, because I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, but in what I said Saturday, and I really meant it. Please go strong. So I get the lineup. Rich texts me the lineup tonight. I'm saying, holy, oh, for God's sake, that's the first one that's really knocked me in the teeth. I'm thinking, oh, God, what a backward or sideward step that is. And then you put in KVY. Now, should he really? Maybe not. So I think he was shot on Saturday. Possibly it was a good idea, possibly not. Putting the young lad Armin in, good for his experience. But is he going to play Saturday? No. El Mazzuni, half pleased to see him get a game, but is he going to play Saturday? No.
Not after that performance.
Is Norwood going to play Saturday?
No.
Oh.
No.
Well, no.
How can you drop Bon?
Oh, well, no, you can't. But I mean, the only thing on the back of that, Gov, that I could suggest, and I know you're gonna annihilate me. The only thing I could suggest on that would be the thinking of maybe changing his formation and playing Norwood and Bon. There is a possibility. Highly unlikely, but a possibility. Would Norwood and Bond, for me, if I was a Lincoln defender, would that, give me a little bit of fear? Possibly. So, but I've got to go back to what I said Saturday. Forget the Norwood thing. I would have brought Pickett in tonight from the word go. I'd have played Bond. I would have played all the back four, including Coulson. Nothing against Penny. I would have went strong, and I wouldn't have cared a less if I'd have got 1 or 2 injuries tonight. I wouldn't have cared a less. I would have went strong, and I would have looked towards the most important game, which was Saturday.
Yeah.
Completely ignored, and I hope I'm desperately wrong, because hopefully, obviously, I'm going to be going with YouGov, and I hope I go up there and I hope to see a great game. Obviously, I'm going to see players who should be gnawing at the bit, because obviously most of them haven't got minutes tonight. But another thing I've got to go on to, Gov, and I must admit I am firing a bit here, and I don't like being like this. But what did I say last night? Those players who looked themselves in the mirror, did they look themselves in the mirror? The ones who actually did play, who I thought would play, people like Norwood, people like Jackson, people like KVY, ones who played Saturday or came on Saturday, obviously not Norwood, but Jackson, KVY, but that. Did they actually look themselves in the mirror and say, you know, I want to play 100% better than I did on Saturday and play for that man who's got a problem at the moment, you know, problems in his private life, blah, blah, blah. I didn't watch the game. I listened to it on Radio Suffolk, but I asked Gov for his rating out of 10 at half time. I asked Rich for his rating out of 10 at half time. Both of them, Gov gave me 5, Rich gave me 5. Now, I go on those 2 people because they know their football. And is 5 out of 10 good enough for me? No, absolutely not.
I can't believe it.
What's that, Gov?
Me and Rich agreeing on something. That's nice. Set up for the book.
No, you're absolutely 5 out of 10, both of you. You know?
Wow.
And I against the West Ham under-21s, with all the will in the world, you know, we're playing West Ham under-21s, and for a team to come out and have a 5 out of 10 after 45 minutes against a bunch of, well, according to Radio Suffolk, I think 80% were about 18 years of age. For me, that's not acceptable, Gav. That's just not acceptable.
No, and I think that's the overriding factor, as Bruce there says. How long till we get the ready vote of confidence from the board? Fans are fuming tonight. Probably the most toxic online I've ever seen it. Dean Lomax, didn't forget Ashton said our players will go through adversity for the firefighters. What a joke. This is at the time a real low point. Matt Spallard, doesn't it show the problem? You lose your dad and you don't have anyone to hand to rain so you can read. That's heartbreaking. Facebook user, how long will Game Children 3 Lions throw at this shit now? I can't see them standing by and letting this go on for much longer. Monty, it's football in common sense. You go 4-4-2 and things are not working with fancy formations. Facebook, the Americans sacked Paul Cook. How many of the news signed be disgruntled? A lot of them signed because of Paul Cook. Yeah, but I don't know if I buy a lot into that. Like the same way they say we've got a fantastic setup and we're a huge club. It's just like sort of a standard textbook of signing PR sometimes. Pete Lowe, my God, this is depressing. An EFL Cup game with a weakened team. We cover Bobby's head. United call for Sir Alex Ferguson's head. Have context. We are 5 to 6 games into this new regime. Pete, that is the context, though, my friend. For those that want or are concerned, it's not 5 to 6 games because I sat through the back end of last year, whether they were his players or not. He was still in charge. It was his tactics, his man management, his motivation. That doesn't appear now to have changed from his players to Lambert's players to Gill's players to Octopus Man's players, whoever players you want to say they were. Things haven't progressed, and that's the word, progress.
We went from finding some wins, didn't we, to, well, completely dropping out of the playoffs.
Well, yeah, this is it. We went to Sunderland and competed, and then went to Northampton and got thumped 3-0 that run of the season. George 03, what worrying is should be winning games from having better players on the pitch. Yeah, it's a lot of concerns amongst the fan base, a lot more than was 7 to 10 days ago. What will happen from this point on, we don't know. People are right about personal situation. We've got to be very wary of that. Now, as I've said many times before, our condolences and sympathies and thoughts, particularly mine, as I have lost my dad, do go to Paul Cook at this time. But he is in the dugout, so we have to react to the game, to the performance, to the 5 games we've seen already, the 6 games we've seen already. And I think we've been fair in what we've done with that this evening. Obviously, we're back on Thursday for the Thursday preview show. We look ahead to Lincoln. We look back to this one. Mike the Fisherman, where are the owners? Very quiet. Well, Mark Ashton's in situ now. If you look at a lot of their stuff, a lot of it was just before Mark Ashton. So, you get people in place and you let them do the job, I think. So I'd be surprised if you do hear from them. I don't know how you feel about that, Neil. Are you surprised we're not hearing from the American owners, or are you of that opinion like I am, where it's Ashton's gig to run now, and by sort of riding in with a statement, you're kind of just trampling on guys' toes that you've employed to do?
Yeah, well, exactly. The whole too many cooks thing. If you've got the owners coming in trying to control it all, what's the point of having the other guys? Yeah, I completely agree with that. Andy Gray, management's about getting the best out of what's available. Cook is failing on this in a big way. Ashley Lewis, interesting point about nobody for Cook to hand over to.
Oh,
yes, mate.
Can I just make a point? There was a bit on there about somebody just suggested about fishermen like Cook and all this and the other. Well, I like Cook myself. I met him personally. I had a chat with him. Very lovely person to speak to. Very much a fans manager. But at the end of the day, we've got to look at this on results. It is a results business, irrespective of what anybody else thinks about that.
Spot on.
This is a results business. And if you're not getting results, absolutely everybody who's in the game, from Hartlepool right the way up to Man United or Chelsea or Man City, they all know when they take the job at whatever club, Cambridge United, Norwich City, Peterborough, Ipswich, or wherever, they all know the final outcome. And unless you're Alex Ferguson, it doesn't normally last 25 years or 26 years. It normally lasts about 3 to 5 years or less, and you get the boot. And it obviously depends on how you're doing. If you're kind of doing like Daniel Farker at the moment, only because he's in the Premier League, he probably just about keeps his job. But if he's still got nil point at the end of November, which is a possibility, I suppose, he will get the sack. Irrespective of every Norwich fan who seems to think he's the Lord Messiah right now, if he's got nil point at the end of November, beginning of December, he'll probably get the sack, and he probably knows that.
That's an interesting name you bring up, because I remember when we played Norwich and we drew 1-1 with Hurst.
I know what you're going to say.
Fark was literally a dead man walking. Then the Norwich fans wanted him gone, and it seemed inevitable. It seemed a matter of when, not if. Whereas one team went that way and one team sadly went that way, and we know the story of which one was which and who kept their job and where they are now. This could, of course, work out the same with Cook, and he could win on Saturday and bang, away we go, and we light it up, which is why tonight for me I wanted that strongest 11, because I wanted that defib shock to the team. Get the win tonight, get the electricity going through the 11, boom, we're off, we're running, we're off to the races. That didn't happen for whatever reason, because he didn't play the team. Or it could go the other way, and Fark could have been sacked back then, and Cook could be relieved of his duties now. But
and another thing, Gov, to think about is on the first day of the season against Morecambe, with all due respect to Morecambe, our friend Mr. Bond, who came on as a substitute that afternoon, he equalised. What was it, 91st, 92nd minute, to give us a 2-2 draw. We could have quite easily, like Peter said, we could have quite easily won games. Yes, I'd take that. But we could have quite easily lost that game. At the moment, we've played 8 games, I believe, 6 in the league and 2 in cups, and we haven't won one game.
No, yeah, exactly.
We drew 3 and lost 5. We could have quite easily drew 2, Gov, and lost 6.
That's true.
Quite easily.
Mark Cross, Crook has assembled an awesome squad and completely out of his depth managing them. His coaching staff are so inexperienced. He needs help. On that number 2, the clock's got to be ticking. Facebook, the trouble is if Paul gets the boot, realistically, who would they bring in? Which is a good question for a Thursday show, but it is 20 to 11, and I'm conscientious that these two fellows here particularly need their beauty sleep to hit the world of work tomorrow. So as we've said previously, if you have enjoyed our show tonight and you have got value from us, please do hit that like button. They tell me it helps with the algorithm, but I just care more if you've got value from it. And of course, you can support us through our Ko-Fi link. Every pound gets put back into this platform, helps us to develop it, grow it, and get see what you've got, going on here after a year. Only a year old, so we do appreciate every single donation that comes our way. Mike the Fishman getting destroyed 5-2 at home by Bolton was the last straw. Ant Smith, good manager, mate. Took me all to the championship. This is about Neil Harris now. Facebook user, defensively, was just shocking. So naive. Defensive coach will be our best signing, as our attacking options look half decent. Midfielders need to work harder too. I think there's a lot of room for a lot of improvements. But we'll be back Thursday.
I'm looking forward to enjoying your lovely company on Saturday.
Likewise, but before then, you can join me on Thursday, this Thursday at 8:30. Joining me on the show will be Vicky, which is sure to be an absolute beep fest. No filter Yorkshire V, Vicky, and Ben, the milk tray man. We know how he feels about Paul Cook, so it'd be interesting to get his views. So join us then at 8:30. But until then, Colin, Mike, Coxie, everybody else that's joined us, thank you ever so much for your attendance. Steve and Neil, thank you both for your lovely company this evening. But until next time, I'm Martin. That is Mr. Positivity. That is the aficionado. This is Talking Town. See you.
We're on a journey, looking back on the things that we've taken for granted, but feels like we're learning to be better.